Good morning and welcome to Times Gone Tech. And I say morning because as I'm filming this, it's actually about 7 o'clock Sunday morning. So, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video introducing my new 1773 Eliott Dragoon carbine. I was out in the back shooting it. Got a lot more testing to do on this, by the way. That was fun, but I got a lot more stuff to try out on it. And then at the end of that video, I said something to the effect of, now let's go back inside and I'll show you how to take the thing apart and clean it. Well, you might have noticed in the next video, I was not inside. I was actually out in the deep, dark forest. And I was not even using my Eliott Dragoon. I was with my artillery carbine. And the day did not go well. Let's put it that way. The finger is doing better than I expected, though. I may not lose it after all, but it's a little tingly still. It's a little tender. The bruise on my shin from where I tripped and fell on a rock, that's getting better. And overall, it was just not a good day. So, what happened? Why was I not inside with the Eliott Dragoon? Well, that's an interesting discussion by itself because, as it turns out, during the week, I was working from home on several days, and I would take a break because, every couple hours you take a break and go outside, and I would load this up and shoot it, and then go back in and go to work. Well, one time I loaded it, was inside in advance, so when break time came, I could just grab it and go outside and shoot. And I poured a 60 grain charge of triple F powder down it, and then pushed down a tightly patched .620 lead ball. And then a short time later, I decided to load it and go outside and shoot it. So yeah, I poured another 60 grain charge of triple F down it and pushed down a tightly patched .620 inch diameter ball. It's a 65 caliber, might be 66. I haven't put a mic on it yet, but it's at least 65. Yeah, I double loaded it. I wish I could say I've never done that before, but I hope I never do it again. But yeah, I double loaded the thing. And by that, I don't mean two charges in a ball. I mean a charge, a ball, a charge, a ball. And I know that for a fact, two different ways. Let me get this out. Where the ram should have gone down about this far, it was only going down about this far. So that's where it should have been, and that's where it was. And that's how I could tell it was double loaded because, honestly, I still don't remember loading it the first time. Okay, I got a ball puller, couldn't find it. Went on Amazon, ordered another one. It was due to come in the next weekend. So I needed something to do that weekend, thus the trip out into the deep, dark wilderness with the artillery carbine, which did not go as planned. Okay, it gets better. The ball was cast from lead that was alloyed with antimony. Now, I purchased it from Amazon because of that, because a little antimony makes the lead harder, and the harder lead penetrates deeper into the target, does more damage, doesn't splatter out as much as quickly. However, it made it a little too hard for that ball puller to thread into. Absolutely could not get that ball puller to get a hold of that ball. Just couldn't do it, even broken a ram from another gun trying. So I finally just gave up, took it out in the backyard, and I shot it. And I learned two things from that. One, I'm never doing that again. I'll jury rig some other kind of a ball puller if I have to, maybe a drill press or something. But yeah, I learned don't do that anymore. And then the second thing that I learned was that these Indian-made muskets are not wall hangers. No damage whatsoever. These are, honest to God, shootable guns. So I was impressed by that and quite pleased, while at the same time I was, more pleased than anything. Surprised, I guess, a little bit. I've never tried double loading one of these. And take my advice, do not try that at home. Okay, so anyway, I'm back inside and I decided, okay, I'm going to take this thing apart and clean it up, show you how it works, put it back together. And then I got to thinking, you know what? While I'm doing that, why don't I just do a refinish project on it? Let me get this hammer stall off. And, this is what I'm talking about. This is my 1738 heavy Dragoon pistol, which came in looking pretty much like this as far as the finish goes. So I thought, and this has got a nice grain pattern to it. It looks pretty good, actually, for teak. So I thought I might just go ahead and break the thing down completely. There's some problems with the finish, the sanding. There's some carving work I could do to crispify the edges up a little bit. And blue the steel. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and strip the thing down and do a refinish project, but not to the extent I did on that pistol. That pistol took over a month to do. I don't think I'm going to take that much time with this, but I am going to take it apart. I want to look behind the lock. I want to look under the barrel just to make sure there's nothing unusual going on. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to want to do is take off this side mount ram or a sling guide. So I'm going to take that out. And this is one of the screws that holds the lock in, by the way. And I'm just going to sort of set this stuff off to the side. And really, to show you how easy these things are to take apart, this is really about the only tool you need. Now, you might want one of these, and I'll show you why. And you'll probably want one of these, and I'll show you why. And you're going to want one of these, and I'll show you why. Or an equivalent to that. So first, I want to take this side sling mount off. I'll keep these off here together. Just make sure you don't lose your parts. Okay, I've already taken the ram out. Now, the first thing I want to take off is the barrel. You can take off the lock first or the barrel first. Doesn't matter. I'm going to do the barrel. And to do that, if you'll notice, there's some pins that hold this in. There's a pin right there. There's a pin up here in the front. There's actually two. There's one here which holds the ram guide in, and then there's one up here that holds the barrel in. And then there's one back here that holds the barrel in. And those need to be punched out. And this is one thing about British guns at the time that even the British didn't like. They didn't like these pins. To remove these pins, I'm going to use this finish nail, if you can see that, which I've cut the Sharpie end off of. And I'll just use that to tap it out. And maybe you can see I've got the gun laying on top of this pair of pliers that's to provide a little space under here for the pin to come out. And the pin is just a little bit smaller, or this pin is just a little bit smaller than the pin in the gun. Just pull that out. There. First pin. And third pin, and I'm going to leave this pin in for now because that's holding in the ram guide. I'll take that out later when I work on the stock. But for now, I'm working on the lock and the barrel. Okay, now I need my screwdriver back. And I'm going to take off the tang screw. And the barrel just lifts right out. Now, aha! There are some stampings on the bottom. So what is it? It tells the type of steel, the hardness, and made in India, and the company, at least the initials of the company that made it. Excellent. So I'll set that off to the side because I'll be working on that. Now to take off the lock, and remember that I already took off this one screw here, so I'm just going to take this screw off. And it's really clean down in that barrel. I like that. And it usually will be. I've known people who they only took the barrel off like once a year, and pulled the lock plate out once a year just to look in there and see, make sure everything is okay. Okay, now we're just going to lift the lock out. And if you need a little extra help, you can use a screwdriver to help pry on it. And that's it. There's the lock. And you can see there's very few parts to it. It's actually very simple. And also, as you can see, it's actually pretty clean in there too. So I'm going to look at the lock today just to show you what's going on the inside. And down there, it's all pretty good, pretty clean. We'll set that off to the side. And when it comes time to reassemble this, it depends. If you're using a cold rust bluing method, it can take a week or more for the entire process to complete. And if you've not done a lot of these, you might kind of forget, how do I put this thing back together? And that's one of the great things about videos. You can always just play it from reverse to forward. The last part I take off in the video will be the first part that I put back. Or you got more than one, you can just take a completed lock off and use it as a guide. So that's all of our parts disassembled. Now I've got to clean everything up really good and check it over for, see, I can feel some sharp edges on that, some like burr, something. So I'm going to want to clean this up, and then I want to sand all of those down. I don't want to round the edges off. I just want to take off any of these really sharp edges, which I can feel on it. And that will make the lock, then of course polish it up, because it's clearly been hardened. The parts are dark. They've been hardened properly. Now they just need to be polished back up. Okay, so I'm going to start with this piece. And it doesn't really matter at this point how it's done or what order. Anyway, I'm just going to use a paper towel and get all the grease cleaned off of it. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm just going to feel along the edges, like right in there. It's got a sharp burr on it. I can feel that. So I'm just going to take a little 220 grit sandpaper. I'm just going to sand that down a little bit. And the idea is, again, I don't want to round the edges off. I just want to take off any sharp burrs that are sticking out on it. Oh yeah, that's better. And again, see, I'm just running my finger over that edge just to see if anything kind of snags on my fingertip. And I'm just going to work it down until everything's comfortable, I guess is a way to describe it. Let me adjust this up a little. Yeah, it's a little better. Take that off. Okay. All right, I've got everything sanded, filed, cleaned in acetone, and ready for bluing. And unlike with the Heavy Dragoon pistol, which I used a cold, slow rust bluing process, which again took about a week, I'm going to use some of this super blue and cotton cloth. And since everything's clean, I'm wearing gloves. And so for the smaller pieces, I'm just going to dip them in it, swish them around a little. Wipe them off. I'm going to let that dry. And then I'll dip them in a little mild solution of baking soda and then wash them off. And you can see the difference. It's nice and black and rust resistant. Okay, I am back, and here is my finished lock. And I see I've left a little, this right in here didn't want to blue very well, and probably some contamination still on it, but I decided to leave it to give it more of a used antique look. Everything on the inside nice and greasy. And now I'm going to put this aside and start working on, get this up, start looking, start working on the stock. There it is. One more shot. All right. So, see you next time.